Now let's come to Dr. Nadeem Haque. Um, Nadeem, the question we're addressing is the relationship between macroeconomic indicators and the lives of the mass of the citizenry. So in the intro, I gave an example of the kind of macroeconomic indicators that we talk about all the time in our economic discourse over here.
I heard
GDP,
that. No, I heard that.
you heard all
Correct.
that.
Yeah.
So just ask for your thoughts on these connections.
Well, let me begin by saying that, it's a very proud moment, an honor to participate in a conference in memory of Asma Jahangir, truly an icon and a leader that Pakistan produced, one of our greats. And all of us wished she was here now. She would have really, really straightened out the horrible discourse that we have in this country. This is kind of very convenient to show off that we know something about the economy, but these numbers tell us very little about the economy, whether they're micro numbers or macro numbers. And I think we have to begin to step back and take a broader look. Then we rely on a lot of donor reports. Donors are really the leaders of our economic thoughts. And those reports tend to be very startling, very headline grabbing, but really contain very little about Pakistan economy. I think, quite frankly, the biggest issue is that we have been forced to become a welfare economy. All the figures that everybody is talking about are welfare figures. We've made SAS far bigger than our, stage of development, and we want to give everybody a small amount of money. We built up an education system for welfare reasons, not for quality reasons, not for research. And the welfare system, education, is developing graduates that we've documented in PIDE are heavily underemployed or heavily unemployed. So in a sense, our education policy is not leading to anything. So the conclusion that we've come to at PIDE, and we're arranging a conference for that tomorrow, starting tomorrow in Peshawar, the conference is on opportunity. No economist, no book, I've looked at many books, ever discusses opportunity. We all discuss inequality, and we all discuss ideas like, hey, increased taxation, but the key issue here is opportunity. I have also interviewed, and surveyed some youth in Pakistan. The thing that has to be noted, and this is where we need Nasman Jahangir, that there is a deep dissatisfaction and a deep, I would even say, depression or something that is among youth. I've heard the term depression used by youth and their teachers. I've heard the term even suicide used by youth and teachers. There's a sense of hopelessness. For example, the word ambition doesn't enter the youth discourse. For example, the word more than a job doesn't enter the youth discourse. Entrepreneurship is only considered to be a fancy startup of a rich person, but a poor person's street vending operation is considered to be bad. It is in the way of the car. So we at PIDE have been fighting for street vending. And street vending is thought to be undesirable, dirty business, whereas a fancy startup is considered to be a great business. And the government is willing to subsidize the former, and the latter is taxed heavily. And the Supreme Court has even, in fact, Asma would have been here, it would have been great. The Supreme Court has banned street vending. I mean, this is amazing, calling it an encroachment. So the issue in this country is really that we have to begin to rearrange the dialogue. We have to begin to focus on opportunity. The second thing is we focus on taxation and documentation, and a huge amount of our dialogue, our diatribe, is about corruption. We are the only nation in the world that calls itself corrupt. I don't think our corruption is any more than Nigeria or Indonesia or India or many other countries. But yet our leaders come on the screen, our judges come on the screen, everybody around the world is talking about corruption. Corruption only exists in Pakistan. The result is, again, another thing we are measuring, the level of trust and the level of community in this society has dropped sharply. And at this level of trust in community, it is very hard to do business. It is very hard to make investments. And the government is deeply mistrustful, and vice versa, of the people. The government out to pin people down, extract resources from them. In fact, this is what we call in economics a predatory government. Ali Hasnan was right. There are so many assets that the government has created that are totally useless. I think we should I would even advocate to make the fund program work. We should cut down our development expenditures for the next 10 years to almost zero. We don't need development for the next 10 years because our development is totally misplaced. We're building more roads than we need. So there are so many things that are wrong, but the biggest problem is there is no ASMA in economics to lead the economic discussion, and we cannot have an economic discussion in the country, and we have tons of donors who are leading the discussion, who I would call economic hitmen. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Khurram Sahab, my point when I was saying to call it that economics does not have an ASMA was not to say that we are talking about great people and others. Asma was not just a great woman. Asma was a great organizer and she had an ability to bring people together and fashion narratives. I think we should not just think of her as an individual. She represented the movement and the fashion. I think that's what we need in economics. In economics, there's far too little debate. Asma was capable of debating people, generating a consensus. We don't have that kind of thing. Everybody's talking at different cross purposes. As I keep saying, I don't think elite capture is a big issue. Elite capture happens everywhere in the world. I mean, US is elite capture, UK. Elite capture is a part of human narrative. It happens everywhere. The question is how to offer people opportunity. And it's not about giving them welfare, it's about giving them opportunity. We have made this a welfare state way before our time. We have created youth malaise. And as you can see, it does not interest our economists that this is happening. The youth psychology is not of interest to our economists. They want to give welfare. The key issue here is, you're right about investments, but it's more than investments. The poor don't need investments. The poor don't need welfare. They need opportunity. And I'll give you a case in point, very simple. In order to improve their welfare, poverty has dropped in this country, dropped substantially. The middle class has increased in this country. PIDE has an analysis on that. Middle class has increased substantially in this country. Things have happened well for the people.